Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. I want to start by making an apology. I unfortunately had my computer crash a little while ago. I guess it's been 10 days now. Efforts to resuscitate it were unsuccessful, so I ended up having to purchase a new computer, transfer material, and the process, of course, is a little different with this one. As you can tell, I was experimenting with my options here, trying to figure out exactly how this computer works, but I think we're good to go now, and I'll at least be able to get through this conference call and hopefully be able to manage the Q&A afterward. But there's a lot to discuss today, so let's get started. I spent most of the morning trying to bottom line the information because there's just so much out there coming from so many directions that I finally decided that I'm just going to bottom line the information. Those of us that have been following this are pretty much up to speed anyway. But I still like to touch on what, in my opinion, are the most important issues. For the last about 6 months, I've been saying that, in my humble opinion, we could see a reinstitution/revaluation of the Iraqi dinar in January of 2026. And the closer we get to January of 2026, the more it looks as though that very well might be the month for all of this to occur. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I want to just touch on the players that are involved in this, the important individuals, because depending upon who's in control, this determines the ultimate conclusion, which, of course, is the completion of the monetary reform in Iraq, the dinar hitting the 4X, and then, of course, some of the other currencies following along as well. So the players of importance, the ones we need to pay attention to, are, of course, President of the United States, Donald Trump, Prime Minister of Iraq, Soudani, President of Kurdistan, Barzani, Governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Alak, and the Minister of Finance, Saleh. And as I can review the information at hand, it seems to me that they are all pretty much on the same page. But of all of these players, Donald Trump, President Trump, is clearly the maestro. And I'm going to just brief summary discuss all of the things that he has done that either indirectly or directly brought us to where we find ourselves today. He's ending wars, particularly in the Middle East, and peace is breaking out. He's the author of the Abraham Accords, agreements between Israel and Arab nations, some of which have been mortal enemies since the creation of Israel. He assassinated or killed General Soleimani, who was the Iranian general creating all kinds of problems and chaos in Iraq. He also destroyed Iran's nuclear program, which was their underlying threat for anyone that tried to obstruct what they were doing. And now he's assisting with the funding in Iraq of the elimination of the remnant of the Iranian militia that are still wandering around with nothing better to do. Donald Trump also said that it is time for this is a public statement he made among many. He said it is time for the United States to receive a return on its investment in Iraq. Translation: United States has spent hundreds of billions of dollars and lost human treasure and life over the last couple of decades to resurrect the nation state of Iraq. And now it's time for Iraq to repay all of those efforts. At present, he has the U.S. Embassy working along with the U.S. Treasury, Envoy Savoy in Iraq, all to assist with the final completion of the monetary reform. The Prime Minister of Iraq, Sudani, said that it is now time to keep his promise and give his citizens real purchasing power. Governor of the Central Bank, Iraq, says that 1310, which is the program rate for the Iraqi dinar globally, will terminate on December 31st of this year. And he says that the new lower dinars are printed, stored, and ready for release in an article in the Gazette. Lastly, all of the international agencies are now anxious for a global Iraqi dinar. I'm referring to IMF, World Trade Organization, etc. So any objective observer looking at all of this from the standpoint of the United States, Iraq, the nations in the Middle East, the international agencies, everything, what's going on technically with the monetary reform in Iraq, it all screams December of 2026. Now, those of us that have been involved in this for some time, actually some of us decades, we roll our eyes and say, same old, it's been one step forward, two steps back. I really can't argue that sentiment. However, the facts as they exist today are for the first time real. The things that they've been attempting have been accomplished. And the most important component, in my humble opinion, is who is President of the United States. This thing was not going to get done with any other president, in my opinion, Democrat or Republican, particularly the last president that we had. He was completely not only unaware, but unable to do any of the things that President Trump has done, even if he had wanted to do them. So I'll just reiterate it one more time. I really think that this is going to be over in January. Now, there is one issue of concern. I'll go back to what Governor of the CBI Iraq said. He says 1310 to terminate on December 31st. I don't want to be negative about that date, but we have to look at this pragmatically. Let's assume let's just assume that the Iraqi dinar hits the Forex at $1 on December 31st. Well, what that means to us, I'm getting a lot of text here saying, is there a conference call today? Yes, there is a conference call today, and I certainly hope you can hear me. Let me check one thing. Well, I'm not quite sure if any of you have heard what I've just stated. This is a new computer. My computer crashed last week, and I'm not entirely sure whether you've heard anything I've said. I'm going to apologize, and I'm going to start all over again. So if you've heard this for the first time, again, I apologize, but this is a new computer. All the prompts are different, and I'm not entirely sure if this thing is working. As a matter of fact, if someone would be kind enough, if you could just text me briefly and let me know if you can hear me, and if so, if this is the beginning and for the first time. So I'll just wait for a moment for someone to text me. Okay, I'm going to try this again. As I said, my computer crashed a little over a week ago. This is a new computer. The configuration's different. I'm not quite sure if I've hit the prompts correctly. If I can be heard, I would appreciate it if someone could just text me and let me know that they can hear this conference live. Oh, here we go. Someone. Okay, let's try this again. Can someone please text me if they can hear this conference? Because if I don't get a text from someone saying they can hear this conference, then I have to assume for some reason you cannot hear this conference. Well, unfortunately, I cannot determine whether or not I can be heard because I'm not receiving any text from anybody. So I'm going to try one more thing, and if that doesn't work, there's no reason to continue with the call. Well, since I've heard from no one, I'm unfortunately under the assumption that for some reason I cannot be heard, which is very disappointing. We have a very positive call here for today. So what I'm going to do in the event that somehow you can still hear me is I'm going to very briefly mention the fact that, again, it looks like the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar is going to happen in January, which is weeks away. And since the train is leaving the station, if you have not yet established your protective trust, I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. It contains a lot of information about us, about these trusts, about how they work. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. If you decide to establish your trust, everything you need is included in the package. I'm going to go ahead and briefly explain to you why it's important that you establish this trust prior to the reinstitution and global revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. And incidentally, with the revaluation globally of the Iraqi dinar, we can expect other currencies to revalue as well. I think the Iraqi dinar is the linchpin for at least a half a dozen other currencies, and so you would be wise to at least get our initial package to understand why you need to establish this trust, what benefits are going to be available to you by establishing this trust, and what benefits you will lose by waiting to establish a trust after the event, after the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar and some of these other currencies. You can contact us either by email or phone. We'll be happy to assist you. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimited LLC at gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited LLC at gmail.com. And our phone service, which is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. I will try one more thing. I'm going to try to open the Q&A. So by doing so, someone can get into the Q&A. Let me know if they can hear me or not. And, of course, if the Q&A doesn't work, then I know this thing really isn't working. All right. So if you can hear me out there, I'd appreciate someone getting into the Q&A and let me know what they hear and don't hear from their end. Okay, thus far, no response on the Q&A. I have to unfortunately assume that this call has not been heard. Once I make a few phone calls and ascertain whether or not that's the case, I will do a blind call with the information so that it'll be on YouTube and then people can listen to it at a later date. I apologize for the confusion. I did everything I could to get this thing up and running after the computer crashed, but it seems as though it may not have worked entirely. Finally someone sent me a text, but again, I need a text letting me know if this thing is working, but it's a little late for that now, so I'm going to sign off. There will be, of course, a conference call next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and if necessary, I will redo this call and post it on YouTube. I apologize for any confusion. Have a great afternoon. Have a great week. Things are really looking up in Iraq, and it looks like January of 2026 is going to be our month. Take care and have a great week. God bless.